After a few years, it was almost the time of Chuseok. Wen was already promoted to the rank of an inspector general, and Jungkook was working as a Seoul-based doctor. Wen received a message from Mrs. Jeon. Mrs. Jeon and Wen was connected for security reason, and they eventually got closer with time. Just like a mom-daughter relationship, their relationship had the warmth. About Jungkook. Of course, after that day, Van and Jungkook didn't meet. Neither got a chance nor initiated to meet. Even they didn't sign any divorce settlement, and because of that, Van was still an official member of the Jeon family. Also, an inactive member of the Jeon's family WhatsApp group, just like Jungkook. As it was the time of Chuseok that year, Jungkook's cousins decided to take over the responsibility of Chuseok celebrations at their ancestral home. As a member of the Jeon family, Ban was requested to take a few days' leave and also given responsibilities. But as Jungkook was involved in a 24/7 emergency field, he was just requested to attend the Chuseok. The Jeon descendants decided to start working on the project Chuseok 3 days before the festival. The new generation Jeons were definitely smart and, of course, busy. They had already pre planned everything and, being divided into groups, started working. Wan chose to clean the ancestral home of the Jeons, so taking pre approved leave, she arrived at Busan. Indeed, it was a beautiful city. And finally, when she entered into the Jones house, she noticed it was already cleaned and well maintained. There were a few local people come caretakers who had been taking care of the Jones house greeted Van. Welcome, young madam. It's been many years. She is being known as Mrs. Jones, so she didn't get any shock. Rather, she greeted them politely. She looked confused, so they led her to Jungkook's room, which was covered with multiple layers of dust and spider webs. It's your room, madam. We are strictly forbidden to do any cleaning in this room. Jungkook. She uttered his name in an audible range after a long time. No, madam. When senior madam got the news of young master's marriage, she ordered us. After senior madam's demise, young master cleans this room every year all by himself. He even refuses to take our help, but this year you have come. Finally, don't worry, madam. We will help you to clean this room. The caretakers assured her. Jungkook cleans this room. If he doesn't take any help, why should I? When thought and asked the caretakers for the cleaning equipments, and after some time, putting on the cleaning gloves, she stepped on the ladder and started cleaning. She kept cleaning the all day with earpods on and didn't dare to look around the room as she felt someone's existence in that room. There is nothing called ghost van. She consoled herself and kept cleaning. She was cleaning a photo frame. Might be it was a picture of Jungkook when he lost his baby teeth, or his brother, but the picture was funny, so she laughed before hanging the frame on the wall. What's so funny? Yeah, she heard in spite of the loud music, and as she turned her face, she noticed Jungkook. Might be she wouldn't be so scared if it was a real ghost, and in no time she slipped from the ladder. She just sighed and tried to get up. Obviously, Jungkook couldn't save her as he was standing in another corner of the room, but he rushed immediately. He didn't utter a single word of greeting. Looking at his nervous face, when noticed, he probably regretting for distracting her. He sighed and started doing his job. She let him wipe the minor scratches silently while trying to hide her hand. Where else do you have wounds? He asked her. I'm fine, thank you. She tried to get up and run but couldn't. You're welcome. He made her seated on his lap and started examining her right hand, which was bruised. He carefully yet roughly examined if there was any sign of fracture. Oops, I'm really sorry. She tried to get up from his lap but couldn't. And the next moment, Jungkook found her another arm injured by the broken glass frame. The room was cleaned, partially, but still there was dust, especially the glass pieces were scattered everywhere. Jungkook took her in his arms and carried her in bridal style to another room. Van led him. At this point, she was in pain because she was wounded. She was feeling guilty for staining and ruining his childhood picture and also embarrassed because of her looks. And when all of these senses were triggered, her tummy growled. She tried to control but couldn't, so it kept crawling. He laid her lean body on a couch and pulled out a chair for himself to sit on. As he took the metal medical tweezers from the metal tray after disinfecting his hands, one was startled. Please don't, I beg you. I'm not forcing you as a husband. He chuckled while gripping her arm tightly. Don't move, Shona. Let me remove the splinters, please. Val looked at him, though his focus was on removing the glass splinters, but Wen couldn't stop herself from feeling insecure about her dusty looks. Wen tried to study Jungkook's demeanor. Before removing each splinter, he told her to breathe. Of course, it was painful and Wen lost control over her tear ducts at that obvious point, yet she was perceiving her behavior with that inexperienced fog gaze. Why is he acting like we never got detached? She thought, and she closed her eyes as she felt too tired. She fell asleep. To ease the workload before Chuseok, Wan had to work overtime, and of course, she was jet lagged. Wan's body was weak for these obvious reasons. Allergy symptoms were triggered due to cleaning the dust. Jungkook arranged each and everything for her treatment after getting information about her situation from his mother. He treated her wounds, and after that, he cleaned his room, freshened up, changed her clothes without disturbing her sound sleep, and shifted her into their room. This time, he wasn't the 18 years old boy who had hesitated, who had think multiple times, who had hesitated multiple times, which he should be, but now he was her husband. He used his right. He was mature enough, and of course, he was feeling guilty for the accident. Jungkook had always been sleeping alone in his own bed, and it was the first time sharing bed with someone. Sleep had always been his priority, but it was the first time he let someone rule over him. Was he comfortable? No. Still, he let her put her head on his shoulder, let her cold feet put on his warm ones. Because he knew she was his responsibility. He knew he can't afford losing her second time. That night he couldn't sleep well, and the next morning when she opened her eyes, it was already 10 o'clock in the morning. Before noticing what she was wearing, she felt the stinging pain in her body. She remembered what happened yesterday. She looked around and found herself in the same room. It was clean, tidy. She found her wounds were bandaged. I changed your clothes yesterday. A loud voice hit her eardrums out of blue. I said, I changed your clothes yesterday. Jungkook repeated, but to his surprise, she didn't even flinch. So, she narrowed her eyes. Am I beautiful? Jungkook wasn't ready to face this question, so he stammered. When I was just an adult teenager, just a freshman in college, I first saw you. Then I didn't judge you based on your feature. Since you left me, I found no one beautiful, so yes, you are the definition of beauty in my mind. Yes, you are beautiful. How? How can you do this to me, Jungkook Jung? How can you pretend that nothing happened? How can you pretend like we are really husband wife and staying in one room forever? How can you be so comfortable with me? Why there is no effect on time on you, not on your face, not on your behavior? She glared, but she knew she must think before saying. Jungkook got up from his seat and touched his forehead with Van's broad one. What do you want to eat? I will cook for you. Nothing. She was literally seething with anger, but her tummy growled. You have to take your medicine. He touched the tip of her nose. One of the caretakers knocked on the door. Breakfast is ready. He served the local delicacy of Busan. You wanted me to eat? Here's the food. She was about to take the cutlery but couldn't, as the painkiller's effect was decreased with time. She closed her eyes in pain and hunger. She tried to gulp down an amount of saliva to stabilize herself. Let me feed you. He successfully triggered her mood. Again, he had sensed that Van was a mental mess because of his active presence. Even in the mid 20s, the young doctor didn't want to lose a single chance to tease her. Taking ample amount of food in the spoon, he raised his hand to her mouth. Do I? She glared at him, but her tummy growled. The aroma of the food was tempting. She didn't like to waste food, and Jungkook knew that. To tease her more, he took the crunchy first bite. This tastes heavenly. It's a must try. He shook his head in satisfaction and raised his hand to feed her. Ah, to Van, it was her sweetest dream come true moment. She took a bite and it tasted delicious. Yeah, she was typical hopeless romantic, and that part of Van was still unknown to him. He kept feeding her until the portion of food was finished. Now it's time for the medicine. Jungkook handed her the tablets and the water. So many? She sighed, and without any argument, she took the medicine. Though Jungkook thought she will not be able to gulp down multiple tablets, but she did. He felt disappointed because he was trying to find reasons to curse her. He concentrated on his portion of food. When? Wan looked at him blankly. Hmm? Why did you choose to be single all these years? He finally asked what he wanted to know, secretly crossing his fingers. My mom is a blind supporter of yours. You are her hero. Hmm. She simply adores me, I know that, and chuckled. You are cleverly avoiding, he nodded while chewing the food. It's embarrassing.
she whispered. She wanted to escape from that room to avoid him, but his glare almost made her frozen at a spot. You still have the feeling after so many years? He asked her with a soft voice. What do you think? She asked him instead of answering his question. Well, I'm optimistic, and that's all I can be. He shrugged his shoulders. Don't you like someone? She chuckled. I think nobody can compliment my aura in my working place, and that's the only world I am familiar to. I don't drink, I don't party. You haven't accepted any economical help from the Jones. You never went for shopping. I guess once my mom told me that you still wear the same pair of night suits from your school days. He asked as that was the only information about when Mrs. Jones had shared with him.
Dr. June, she cleared her throat. Yes, I like you. I confess. Yes, I still like you, but I have my situation. I am an employee who tries to be humble yet I'm a little dominant. I figured out I probably not be a submissive spouse. And last but not the least, the Jones are too wealthy, no matter how hard I work on my saving skills. I understand. He nodded. He was quite angry because she compared him based on his family wealth when her family was wealthy enough compared to the Jones. When are you optimistic about us? Will you stop worrying about everything? If you ask me, I am. You are the only female figure with whom I would like to share my everyday emotions happily. He finally bent down on his knees and raised his face as she was constantly avoiding eye contact with him, lowering her head. He knew she was hiding her tears from him. I don't force you, Van, for anything but please stop avoiding me. Stop planning to escape from the situation. You are not going to give me explanation for anything. Life doesn't usually allow what you like and what would be right choice for you in the same side. But when you have the chance, you must utilize it. Jungkook's eyes began to well up with tears. Be my real wife, Mrs. Van Jungkook Jeon. He took out his wallet from his pocket and took out a random paper from that to make a origami ring. I really want a proper name for this relationship. Not for the world, not for the society, not for my family, for me and my soul. Please accept it. I just don't want to waste the moment. Neither I. So, Dr. John, if I accept this paper ring, how do you think your existence would change my life? My personal life, obviously. Fixing her eyes on the handsome man, she asked. The obvious naughty grin on his lips was evident that he let his instructive thoughts controlling his mind for another time. You mean, how will I love you? He asked with a shy smile on his face. I want to hear, she whispered. Skinship, a lot and lot of that. I will visit you on my off days. Tell me, how do you want to be loved? I promise, I will love you exactly that way. He honestly answered. You will take me on romantic dates, You will give me gifts and accept whatever I will gift you. We will not split bills. You will pay the bill when you take me on date and vice versa, she stated. "Mm, we will start dating after Chuseok." She checked the calendar twice before saying that. "Until Chuseok, you will be living like Mrs. John, my wife, in front of the family," Jungkook chuckled. "I have been acting." She paused and noticed his naughty eyes. "Hey, what will I say to your mom?" "She will not believe you or me at first, yet she will be the one who will be happiest," he thought.
Do one thing. Tell her in the occasion of Chuseok, he suggested. I don't dare. She shook her head in nervousness. Man, stop worrying. Let's go somewhere. He casually shrugged his shoulders. Dr. Jeon, will you mind if I go out? Actually, I need to go back to my office to sign on some documents. It's really urgent. Wan nervously spoke. It's already noon. I might not be able to return here tonight. First, he nodded a few times and then he said, You drove here. Now your hands are not that much in situation to handle the steering wheel. Will you mind if I? He paused for a moment as he didn't want to show her how desperate he was at that moment. From the day she joined her department, Jung always wanted to visit her workplace, her accommodation, though he knew her address, but he never invaded her privacy and also didn't get any chance. And this time, he didn't want to let go this possibility. Dr. John, I might not be able to return here tonight. She looked at him helplessly. Joseph is the day after tomorrow. I don't have any rush and we are already married for a long time, so our relationship wants a valid name. Don't worry though, I will not cause any trouble. Promise. He assured her. Do you need my help to get ready? No, it's good. I will be in the car so I don't need to change. My clothes are in my apartment. She politely showed her reasons. Give me 2 minutes. He scrunched his nose and checked himself roughly in the mirror, took his car keys and already packed bag that he had brought with him. Let's go.